Yeah!
This is DJ Kevy Kev. For all my BBW that's out there looking fly and know you're looking fly, ladies and gentlemen, I want you to give them a big
Yeah!
For all my fellas out there that's rocking the SBBW, I want you to stand up and say,
Yeah!
welcome, welcome, welcome. Welcome to the BBW Network podcast. I am your host, DJ Kevy Kev. I like to say what's up to all my BBWs out there and all the guys that love and support our BBWs. I also like to give a shout out to the BBW Network Facebook group. If you hadn't joined, please go do so right now. In this particular episode, we're going to be discussing whether or not a man should be forced to pay child support if he married to a woman and she decides to go out and cheat on him. Now, most people think that one has absolutely nothing to do with the other, and that the infidelity is between the two adults and the care for the children is between the children and the adult. And I absolutely disagree. And I think that one do affect the other. Because if two adults decide to take it upon themselves and have children and create this world for the children, then they should be held accountable for their actions. Because number one, there's a lot of people's lives at stake here. You got the children, you know, they used to a certain world. They used to being around their mom. They used to be around their dad, Christmas, birthdays, waking up on Saturdays, doing things. You've created that. And most people think abuse of a child is physical, but you can psychologically abuse a child by some of your dumbass decisions that you make, and that's serious. So I absolutely think that both parties should be held accountable, but for the most part, guys are held accountable. Women are the ones that's no real repercussion. But first, let's look at it how men are held accountable first. Let's just say this guy starts a family with this lady. Okay, they start a family, they accumulate a house, a car, then they have children, and let's just say the guy, for whatever reason, he go out and get a side chick, then he get busted, wife kick him out, then she go file a divorce. First thing, he go from seeing his kids every day to most likely seeing them on the weekend or every other weekend or in between, maybe. Next, the judge ain't about to put the woman in the street, so if she can afford the house, she's probably gonna get the house. Then his ass going on child support. Then all the other assets is gonna get split up, might have a business, and you probably gonna have some issues with that. All because he wanna go out and cheat and damn near lose everything, and now they gotta start all back over. Now let's look at this from the woman's side and her accountability if she goes out and cheat. First of all, what is she really gonna lose? I mean, the judge probably going to award her the children in which she get to see them every day. And I do understand it's a lot of work with taking care of children by yourself, bathing, clothing, feeding, picking them up, just being a parent on a day-to-day basis. That is a job. But nevertheless, you get to see the kids every single day. All right. The judge is probably going to give her the house if she can afford it, because he ain't about to put her and the children out in the street. And that's probably the house that her and her ex-husband now bought together. So he loses his house. All right. Now she probably gonna move the new guy in, and now the new guy gonna be around the ex-husband children more than the ex-husband is. And last but not least, the judge is probably going to make the ex-husband pay an outrageous amount of money for child support. And everybody know that the child support system is fucked up. It's unfair. And that's just how it is. There's no secret about that. Now, let me make a disclaimer. I am not advocating for deadbeat ass dads. I'm not advocating for a deadbeat dad. So let me just put that out there. I think that if you commit adultery in a marriage with children, then you should have a disclaimer or an asterisk on your record. It should count against you in court, like maybe some points or something. And it should go down as an unfit parent because of the emotional trauma that you place on the children. And I get all this shit about oh, the children gonna be okay. There's plenty of parents going through divorce every day. My parents got a divorce and I turned out all right. Well, you don't know how it's gonna affect the children, not having two parents in the household. Then you wonder why they start hanging out with the wrong crowd, having sex at 12 years old, smoking, drinking, drawn to violence, and then you want to go to crying like, oh, I do everything for y'all. I buy y'all everything, and y'all go do me like this. You don't know how it's going to affect that child, not having two parents in the household. Maybe that child need a void that needs to be filled, so you don't know. Let me do a hypothetical, though. What if the jealous boyfriend and the husband cross paths with the kids around and some shit go down in front of the kids? Now, you can blame it on the husband, you can blame it on the boyfriend, but it's your decision that got the goddamn ball rolling in the first place. And that could be a dangerous situation that you're putting the kids in. So, that just might mean you a deadbeat parent. Or, no, not deadbeat. I ain't gonna say deadbeat. An unfit parent. Well, since I say that, then how about the dad be given the option to keep the kids with him? He keep the house, and then he split up whatever is left, and then your ass pay child support. But with that being said, you know it won't stop people from cheating. But I think it would hold women to some kind of accountability. All I'm saying is this, and I'm not trying to get down on my sisters, and I don't like to bash my brothers either. Fair is fair. Nobody is above the truth, and nobody is above fair. You know? And a lot of y'all think just because it's a law, just because child support is a law, just because this over here is a law, that doesn't necessarily make it right or morally right. There's a lot of laws been on the books that morally they wasn't worth a damn. Hell, at one point, black folks couldn't drink from water fountains. And that was a law. But this is what I'm saying. If a woman decides to tear up a family with infidelity and make that decision that will affect her husband's life, her kid's life, her own law, then maybe she should be given a reason to think before she make them kind of decisions. Then she could decide, is it worth it? Because if the courts say, look, if you're gonna make that decision, then you're gonna be solely financially responsible for your children, and you're gonna lose your house, and this would be all over a man. Now, if two people have a child that ain't in no marriage, and they didn't create this level or this world for the kids, then hell yeah, I think that you got to pay child support, dude. You just can't be fucking running around chilling and stuff and don't be paying no child support or helping out with the kids. But you didn't create no family, no lifestyle expectation. Even let's say, you know, she got to be solely financially responsible for the kids. She lost everything. Nigga, you still got to go see your children. You still have to spend time with your children. Now that should be mandatory. I don't give a damn what go down, but handing somebody over a check when they the one, hell, they probably were just doing that shit because they already knew. Man, some women be doing that shit, y'all. And that's the main reason why, ladies, a lot of y'all keep running into these broken men. Because the system is broken. The accountability is broken. If a guy pour everything he got into his family, trying to do the right thing, trying to be a good husband, and you gonna go and cheat on him, take his house, take his children, take his money, what the fuck you think he gonna do? He ain't about to trust nobody else. It's gonna be hard. That's what happens when you break a dude. That's what happens when you utilize a broken system, and then you wonder why you don't have no good dudes, because a lot of them are already broken. I'm just saying. Anyway, let's go to the conversation.
Hello.
How you doing, Tressa?
I'm good, and you?
I'm doing good.
And it's Teresa, but it's spelled like Tressa.
Okay, I'm sorry.
No, you're fine. Everyone calls me Tressa, especially here in San Antonio. All the Hispanic people call me Tressa.
Oh, okay. Well, since you doing good and I'm doing good, let's cut the BS.
All right.
So, if a woman cheats on her husband, should a man be forced to pay child support? And I say no.
And I say if the child is his, yes. And so why do you say no?
Okay, the reason why I say no, and this is just for a woman that's two people that's married.
Yes.
Okay, because number one, she should have thought about that before she cheated. I mean, there's really no repercussion for women when they cheat in a marriage, as far as dealing with the house, the children, because when she makes that decision, there's a lot of people involved in that decision. The children is involved, the husband is involved, the finances involved. There's a lot of stuff that's involved. So before she decides to go out and cheat, she should think about, well, how am I going to take care of the children? And I know that the children is his, true, but she should be thinking about that. And not only that, I mean, there's a lot of things that go with that, as far as, you know, the children can experience trauma. It could be violence involved. The children may end up in a broken home. All right. Now, it's basically she's forfeiting the marriage, and everybody is involved is going to experience a lot of different things just because that one little decision that she made. And that's kind of where I stand on that.
Okay, so and being a woman who is married with a deceased husband, marriage is something that I think a lot of people take lightly, and they don't understand that there's work that has to be done. And absolutely, there are repercussions to a woman or a man deciding to do something that would disrupt the marriage. As far as the broken home comes in when adults involve children in things they shouldn't involve them in.
Exactly.
And so if the two people that are involved are mature enough, I mean, I've been in a situation. So I'm not just speaking from a, well, what if, or how could you, or I'm speaking from experience. When you allow yourself to, in private, step back and think about what's going on and be able to converse what is happening to that person, whether they receive it or not, or however they're going to respond. We have to get to a point as adults where we are accountable for how we react and respond to other people. His response, her response should not affect how that other person responds or reacts. And absolutely, there could be violence in place and all that, but typically that's when a person is not able to have self-control. Because my situation was extremely difficult. By far, it was not easy, and he made it extremely public. But because I refused to have my character tainted, I refused to have my integrity tainted, I didn't make anything public. My husband was gone for 8 months before my father or anyone outside of my home knew he was gone. When he started posting stuff on social media is when people found out. And I think people react out of emotion before sitting down and thinking about all that. You're absolutely right. What is it going to do to the family? What is it going to do to the home? What is it going to do if the children find out? But we're so reactive to how it's making me feel. Then, okay, the first thing for most people is, I'm done with this. You did that. It's over, gone. Because I would say, what's wrong with him taking the children?
Exactly.
So he could take them. He doesn't have to be forced to pay child support. Why doesn't he take the children? Or why doesn't he take some time to go and separate himself and think about, is this something that I can work through, or is this an absolute no? So who's to say the marriage has to end?
Well, you know what? To your point, that's what I thought. I said, you know what? I think that if a woman cheats on a man during a marriage, she should be deemed unfit or lose her children for a duration of time, because you're not thinking about the children. That's a lot of stuff that can happen when you commit infidelity in a marriage. That sometimes it can be uncontrollable to some people. You don't know how nobody gonna react when they find out you cheating on them. I mean, you could say what you won't do or what you don't want to do, but you never know how people is gonna respond.
Exactly. Because I mean, there was a point in time I sat on my bed many nights thinking about double murder.
Oh, wow.
Murder, suicide, all kind of things. But again, what I had to do that was different is those are things and thoughts and emotions I had, but I had them in my room by myself. And once I came across, yes, I cried. Yes, it was difficult. No, I'm not Superwoman and I can just go through all this. Absolutely not, because it was extremely difficult. There's one night I was rocking on my bed and I was like, do I need to go commit myself to a psychiatric ward? Like, I felt like I was losing my mind. All these emotions come in play.
Yes.
But you have to be able to see the bigger picture that is more than you and the betrayal and the deceit and the hurt that is involved. You have to look at the big picture. What is this going to do to my children? So if I go kill him and this woman, what's going to be the outcome for my 10-year-old, my 19-year-old, my 24-year-old? What is that going to solve? What is that going to do? And then what is that going to do for all the things that I worked hard in becoming as a woman?
Exactly.
I'm not going to rip all that apart just because he made this decision. And it's easy to say, but like I said, I'm not just speaking from a place of, I don't know. I can relate. I've been through it. And it was very difficult. And it was very hard. It got to a point where I'm trying to log on, pay lights, and he was transferring lights somewhere else. And hadn't called, didn't say anything. I slept on hospital floors. The last 5 years of our marriage, he spent so much time in the hospital. I've done all these things, and it's just kind of like, Lord, what in the world did I do for this? So, but you know what? One thing that helped me, because people say, how did you do it? Because the flip side of that is 8 months later, he had to come home. And when he came home, his health had declined so much. I had to wipe his butt. I had to shower him. I had to feed him. It was like something you see on the movies, but I didn't react. I just did what I needed to do. And the entire time he was gone, I continued to carry myself as a woman, as a mother, and as a wife. I didn't entertain the foolery. I didn't respond to the foolery. I didn't go and then get me a man and post him and all. No, I continue to keep my character intact. And sometimes, as hard as things are, we have to hold ourselves together and think about the bigger picture. But when you say she should now be deemed as unfit and this and that, at no point, even as hurt as I was, that ripped me to my core. I never felt like my husband was unfit. I never felt like he wasn't a man, he was unfit. I just couldn't understand why and what was happening. I never said this man is this, that, or that, this, because I believe in my heart he's the man I was supposed to have married.
Okay, so did your husband cheat on you?
Absolutely, and he made it extremely public. He was all over Facebook on his new Facebook account with this woman. And it was extremely public, and I still had to lead at work because I was the boss at work. I still had to lead at work. Now I was put in a position to have to lead the home, and then not only that, we were in ministry together. I had to lead at church.
So let me ask you this: so you say you don't think he was deemed unfit, or you don't feel like he was an unfit dude?
No, I felt like he put himself in a position to not make the best choice. And because of the choices that he made, unfortunately, that's why he's not here today. I can't say it any plainer than that, because his health was going better. He went from 13 pills to 2 pills. Everything was on the up until he made that decision, and he did what he did. But then also the public shame and embarrassment and humiliation and lying and all that stuff made it worse for him.
So I know it didn't happen to you, but do you think that maybe if the woman found out about you,
she knew about me. She knew.
Well, let's just say let's just say that she didn't know about you, and so all of a sudden she finds out that, you know what, you married.
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
I've been in that situation.
So, and then you got your children in the car, and this woman run up on you.
Why would she run up on me? That's stupid. That's one thing That's one thing I'm trying to preach to women. The only person, for men and women, the only person who have to respect the marriage and be committed to it, and who's obligated to stay committed to it, are the two people in the marriage. Now, I don't care who the other outside people are. They are not obligated. They're not. They should. You will want them to respect it, but they're not obligated. We need to understand just you and your spouse are the two people who's responsible for honoring and being committed to and cherishing that marriage.
See, that's the thing, though. We always try to play the outcome or the scenario out in our brain. But what a person should do and what a person will do is two different things. Mm-hmm. Because now that woman may be scorned, and maybe she broken. And do you think by him doing that, he put you in a bad position?
I do feel like he put me in a bad position.
And the children?
He didn't only put me in a bad position, he then made it the things at home he did it was detrimental. Because previous to that, I was always the breadwinner. I was the one who made the most money, and his ego couldn't tolerate that. And I've never been a woman where, it's my money, da da da. No, everything went in one account. Everything was paid out of one account. There was no my money, your money, his money. I don't believe in that. I don't believe in separation in marriage. But because he couldn't, for whatever reason, the inside of him, his ego couldn't handle that. He asked me to stop doing what I was doing, and I honored that. I did it. And so when he did what he did, he left me with nothing. But I had stopped working, and I was working for basically pennies, doing some little other part-time stuff because that's what he wanted. And so absolutely, it was hard. He put me in a bad position, not just with her, but in my home and my livelihood.
So you know what? Now I'm not trying to bash women, but now, to your point, I think that if a man decides to go out and cheat while he, has a family, he decided himself to start a family with a woman. Ain't nobody put no gun to his head. So that was his decision. Now, if he goes out and do that, I think it should be something like, hey, you're gonna pay for this woman a place to stay. You're gonna pay child support, and you're gonna pay for her transportation. That's what? I really
that could have happened. I knew an attorney, and she was like, I could go to the court and ask them until y'all either get divorced or whatever. He was the breadwinner, and he needs to still support the home. If not completely, then what he was doing, and a judge will definitely honor that. My thing was, whatever. I didn't want it because for me, I'm just like, I'm not going to force anyone to love me, take care of me, or provide for me. Well, I'm not.
I understand that, and a lot of people feel that way, but I think that it should be some real swift repercussions for committing infidelity in a marriage. I really do. I think that should be, because it's not going to really stop nobody from doing it, but it could be a little bit more of a deterrent.
No, it could, because as a result of what he was doing, then, like I said, he got so sick that he couldn't work anymore. And so then he lost his apartment, and then he had to go move with the woman and her mama and the sister and their kids. There's like 10 people in the house.
Oh, wow.
He had to do all that. And then when it got to the point where he could no longer care for himself and cook and all that, none of them wanted to do it. So,
what goes around comes around.
He called and said, "Can I come home?" And I said, "Sure. Do I have to pick you up, or do you have a way?" Because at the end of the day, what most people don't realize in marriage, you're not making vows to that other person. You're making vows to God concerning that person. And the vows and the covenant that I made with God was more important to me than getting back or revenge or throwing up in his face, or once he got here treating him bad or any of that. I did none of those things. And was it easy? Absolutely not. It was not easy, but my soul mattered more to me than doing all the wrong things or being ugly or trying to get back at him.
Now I'll say this, and I've said this before. Now, when you get married, you're marrying the person that is honest, unless you're marrying a cheater from the beginning. Now, if he's a cheater from the get, that's who you marry. But if that person is not a dishonest person, to the point where it causes that person to go out and commit infidelity, then once they do commit infidelity, that's a whole different person. They have forfeited the commitment in the marriage. Because we both agreed that you don't talk to nobody else, and I'm not going to be with nobody else. Okay, yes. That was our commitment. But once you break that commitment, that's the end of the marriage. On paper. But then you didn't mean what you said, because you said in sickness and health, good or bad, till death do us part. People don't go into marriage as if it's a lifetime thing. No. I never got married with the expectation of this is not the person that I was going to grow old with, or that I was going to, when I die, I was going to be married to this person. I didn't go into it with, well, if this don't work, that don't work, I can get a divorce, or this is that. That's not how we should go into it. No. And when you have committed to this is for life, then there's just a different, you think about things different. Because when I was single, I was that person that'd be like, oh, if a man cheat on me, that's it, he done. I don't care, married, not married, blah, blah. I was that person that said that. But when you're single, you speak as a single person. When you're married and you have the experience of marriage, you do it different. It's just like a non-experienced driver, brand new, their insurance is more than a person who's an experienced driver. Because you have more experience in the thing, you're more qualified. Reading a textbook and taking a test doesn't make you qualified. Okay, let me stop you. All right, I'm glad you said that. Because, first of all, committing adultery, that's part of a 10 commandment if we're going to go religious. Thou shalt not commit adultery. But, since you're saying through better or for worse, what if he's abusing you?
Now that's different.
Oh, no. So now we want to
never tell a man or woman to stay in a marriage to stay.
So now we want to throw a flag on. We want to throw a flag on the plate now. To stay,
because do you know how many people, men and women, people always only focus on battered women. I know a lot of men who are abused in marriage. It's not just women. But if you tell someone to stay and they're getting their head kicked in every night, but they can separate and get some work done. And if they both do the work and come back together and it's able to be done, fine. If not, then keep moving.
See, now you just made an exception. You just made an exception. That's the same thing with adultery.
For me personally, unless my life is at stake, I feel like I said this is what I want for life. I'm going to work on it. I'm going to work at it. Okay. I've come from a family with no example of lifelong marriages. I come from a family where people are able to bring their side pieces, men and women, to family functions or divorce or whatever. And I vowed that was not going to be me. I was breaking that thing. That is not what my life was going to be. I told God, if I get married, I'm not getting married to get divorced.
I mean,
and I said it's going to be to death do us part. And you know what? It was to death do us part, because he came home. I took care of him for a month and a half, and then he passed.
Hey, I'm all with you, because I'm big on commitment. I think you should be committed in a marriage. But the two things that I will give an exception to is infidelity and abuse. Now, just because you bored or you're lonely, you're not getting attention, the finances and all that stuff, you know, hey, look, you're just gonna have to stick it out some kind of way. That's kind of
Right.
how it, but
Work through
infidelity, because look, man, you can't be with nobody that's hold on just 1 second.
Yes.
You can't be with somebody, I'm sorry, you can't be with somebody that is sleeping with somebody else. First of all, that could be very dangerous.
Well, yeah, because I have my best friend has HIV.
Yeah.
So I take that seriously. But it's just like when you were younger, there were things about you that you didn't like that you had to change as you became a man.
Yeah.
And so what says, now I'm not talking about a repeat offender, but what says this person did this and they're truly remorseful and they'll never do it again? You just throw that away? Or are you able to work with that?
Well, say if you do it, then that means I gotta recommit myself to that person, because the person I married before wasn't a cheater, they wasn't lying, they wasn't abusive. But once you forfeit that and you break that commitment, now I got to decide whether I want to be with a cheater or whether I want to be with an abuser. That's my decision right there. But for me to try to reach back and grab the person that I knew before, that's just like, and I've made this example before. If you have a best friend and that friend is you pretty much trust them around you, your family, in your house, and you leave your purse on the table and you can vouch for that person, that person will never steal anything out your purse. But you find out they stealing. So you can't vouch for that person no more, because now they're a thief. I ain't about to leave my wallet on the kitchen table around them no more. So I would have to decide, say, you know what, I'm gonna give you another chance, but I gotta watch this person. Because
and then you set boundaries.
Yeah, because to retrust somebody, it's hard to gain trust for a second time.
Oh no, absolutely. But you if you're gonna do the work, then do the work. I'm not saying you're getting back the same person that you started with. Absolutely not. Because even what they did to you have changed you. You're not the same person that they initially married.
That's true.
So both of you have to either decide it's a done deal, and then, or we can work through this and you truly work through it. And then you start learning each other all over again, the new you and the new them. Because both of you are changed. Neither one of you are the same person. I am absolutely, positively not the same woman I was in 2016.
Oh no, you always transitioning in life.
And what happened in my marriage changed me greatly and tremendously. And so had he lived, absolutely, we would have had to do a lot of work. And he would have had to now learn who this new woman was.
Yeah.
Because she moving grooves differently now.
Should I be obligated to try to learn a new person over?
You don't have to be obligated, but what I'm saying is, if you're committed to the work, then be committed to the work. You don't get to say, I'm committed to the work, and then be like, I'm not doing it. I don't want to do it.
No, I agree. Once you give that commitment, then you should go forward. And
then it doesn't have to keep coming up and talking about it and revisiting it and reliving it, because then you'll never be able to move past it. You'll never be able to gain trust again. You'll never be able to fully recommit to that person.
But then again, that's part of grieving, though. I mean, you can say that, you know what, I don't want to bring it up. I'm not going to throw it in your face. And trust me, if it's an outside person telling you, hey, look, you know what, you wrong for throwing that up in her face. But the person that committed that committed the sin or that committed the foul they don't have a right to tell you not to throw it up in their face,
No, they don't.
No. So, if that person throw it up in your face for the next 5 or 6 years, every time you get into an argument, well, you got to accept it, because they probably wouldn't be throwing it up in your face if you wouldn't have did it in the first place. That all goes a part of
I disagree with that.
Well, it's being held. That's
because when you get to a certain point, when my mother passed in 2006, and my grieving process, because I allowed myself to go through all the steps, I don't relive it every day. It's 2019 now. When I got married, yes, I would say, oh, I wish mom could be here. I don't relive it every day. But my twin sister did not go through the steps of grieving, and it took her all the way up until 2 years ago to get off this man, that man, this man. She has stopped working, all these other things. You have the purpose in your heart that you truly want to heal from the thing. But if you're going to wear it like a badge of honor, so that every time they don't do something right, you can throw it up, well, because of this, then you're not allowing yourself to heal. It's no longer about that other person.
Yeah, I guess so. But grief and pain tend to turn you loose when it wants to let you go. You don't really turn it off. It goes out way when it decides that it's done with you. And
you have to do the work.
You can do the work. You
have to do the work. There is nothing in life that can have control of you. You have to be able to do the work.
Yeah, you can do the work.
And some things are absolutely, positively traumatic and detrimental and causes things. But if you don't get yourself up, and if you don't make a conscious effort that this thing is not going to control me all my life, then of course you're going to stay in that cycle, and you're not going to be able to grow in that.
That's true.
You have to be able to forgive. People say, I forgive you, but I won't forget. Then there's no way for you to truly forgive. Because if you don't forget, you're going to constantly replay that thing. And it's just like a scab. You're going to keep pulling the scab off. Every time you heal and the scab starts to scab over, you're pulling it off and making a brand new, you reopening the sore. So how do you heal like that? You cannot. You have to forgive. The forgiveness is not, I'm telling you what I know, what I experienced.
Yeah, but
the forgiveness is not for that other person. It's for you. And I went the first 2 years believing that I had forgiven my husband because I was able to receive him. I was able to take care of him. I treated him with dignity. I restored him as the head of household, blah, blah, blah. But just up until a few months ago, did I realize I really hadn't forgiven him. I had compassion for him. And that unforgiveness started growing and turning into stuff that I was not happy with. And that's why when you look at people, and you have to be able to see, unforgiveness does so many things to you that people don't realize.
That's true.
They do not realize.
But you have to realize also, your experience and my experiences are two different things.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
but
because hold up.
Everybody have to forgive.
Yeah, true.
You have to.
You can't talk yourself into forgiveness. You can't.
No,
you can't. You can't talk grief away. You can say I can forgive all that. That's just like saying, hey, look, you broke my heart, and tomorrow I don't want to be heartbroken, or next week I'm not going to be heartbroken. It could be 3 years from now, and I could be as positive as I want to be. I can be as joyous as I want to be, but the grief is going to leave when it's ready to leave. You can't do it away. Now, if the grief leaves in a year, if it leaves in 6 months, then that's when it leaves. But you can't make it leave.
You can't talk it away, but you absolutely can do the work. If you believe what God says about who we are, we have more power and authority than we think. Whether we choose to operate in it or not is what makes the difference. That's why when people look at certain people like, ooh, he's strong, he was able to just bounce back like nothing, ooh, it's taking her a long time, because it's all in your mindset. Either I really want to get over this thing and be able to move forward with life, or I want to be stuck and have this thing keep me a prisoner for the rest of my life.
That's true. And I mean,
you have to, you can't talk anything out, but you got to believe and do the work. You can't just operate in, well, it's going to happen whenever it want to happen. That's not how God created us.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not saying you don't have to try to not get yourself out of a depressed stage or get yourself out of being angry at the person. What I'm saying is this, you know, if you cheat on somebody, then you have to be held accountable. And if that person throws it up in your face for the next 2 years, then you don't get to say don't do it. You have to say, you know what, I got to accept this because I've caused this trouble here. Now the other person, they got to deal with getting over the heartbreak. They got to deal with
am I truly ready to move on with this marriage, or do I need to go on and end it?
Yeah.
Because nobody's going to be able to live with you constantly stuffing something down their throats.
Well, hey, then you got a choice. You can either say, you know what, I don't want to live like this. I can't take it. But it don't matter though, because you know what, you'd be better off trying to fix it. Because if you leave without trying to fix it, it's only going to haunt you down the road, because nevertheless you're gonna get back what you've given, whatever you put out. So if you've been cheating and you've been dishonest, then you're gonna get that back, and life tends to reward you in pain and grief. But at least if you try to fix it and you try to hang in there until there's no more left, then I guess you can do it until you're satisfied, maybe. I don't know. But hey, I'm gonna leave it right there. It'll give me something to think about and you something to ponder on. But anyway, I'd like to thank Miss Teresa for joining us in the BBW Network podcast. I really enjoyed the conversation. All right, fam, we come to the end of this particular episode. If you want to join us on Facebook, please go join the BBW Network Plus Facebook group. You also can hit us up on Instagram under the BBW Network Plus on Instagram. Please go like, share, and subscribe to this podcast. And until next time, family, y'all stay happy.